Hey guys, what's up? Today we are bringing you a Thunder Knights FutureCard Buddyfight deck profile. This is the deck that I took with me to the Thank You Festival. Actually, I'm going to show you the same build I ran, and I am a still almost complete noob pretty much to buddy fighting. In fact, the day of, I didn't even know that you needed a sideboard, or that you could have one. I just thought, bring your deck, your buddy. In fact, I didn't even know that your buddy had to be in the same sleeve as the rest of your deck. Flag, not counted. Flag can be whatever. But point being, this is my Thunder Knights Dragon profile. I will actually show you the same weakened version that I had because I thought like Vanguard archetype works all together, and boy was I wrong. Like I only ran one card basically that wasn't really Thunder Knights. So let's go ahead and show you right here. Going to start off with 4 Thunder Knights Broadsword Dragon. Why I ran him instead of pretty much any other one of the size ones other than Drago Archer is just he's basically your little rush card. He can't be called to the center even though he has 3,000 defense, which to me he's even better than Rapier Dragon. Well, was it 1,000 Rapier? It was basically the old rush card that everyone loves in generic Dragon World, or I would say Jackknife. There we go. Basically 2 crit, 5,000 power, size 1. Very hard to beat. It's early game rush. I throw in 2 Thunder Knights Main Gods Dragons. Just because, I mean, his crit is low, but his defense, 4,000, 4,000. He can clear out small pests on the board, and he gets moved if you have another Thunder Knight. Majority of the time, you usually put in your grade 2s in the center just because they're higher defense, but this card also helps. He has pretty good defense. And trust me, sometimes you just might as well get rid of him rather than a more valued size 2 monster on the Thunder Knights. Because to me, that seems like what the deck pretty much revolves around. The only Thunder Knights, non-Thunder Knights card I used was 4 Archtype Dragon. I did not know how actually more useful this card was until I actually played him. He basically is 4,000 power, he only has 1,000 defense, he is a glass cannon, and he has penetrates. Call cost is 1 gauge, which kind of... It's not that... that basically makes things kind of a little bit more rougher in a deck that does not run Thunder Knights formation like mine doesn't. I didn't really think gauge was much of that problem because I barely playtested the deck as it was. And it's not bad. He's a better choice to bring out than a lot of other things you can call out and waste hand or whatnot, but he's really great to tack in. I've seen people use him as a buddy so they can get off that penetrate thing with Sunshine Impact. Oh, it works so good. Thunder Knights Drago Archer, you're basically mini draw engine of the deck. When basically he's pulled out and there's another Thunder Knights on the field, you can draw 1 card from your deck. He has low power and low defense, but he has 2 critical, which is not bad for having that low of stats. If you can sneak in a hit with him directly, he's pretty good. Other than that though, he basically becomes Manila 2K, 2K, and 2 crit after the draw card. Next is basically the card that the deck majority revolves around. Thunder Knights Leader, Commander Fane. The cool thing about this guy is he makes every one of your Thunder Knights into much more of a lethal threat. A Drago Archer can then become with 3 crit and move, so of course you can sacrifice him if you have to, put him in the center. Another good thing about it is the extra critical. It helps it so that even your small cards become a threat. But that is assuming though that you can break through the center, because people, trust me, know how to guard the center nowadays. Next up is pretty much everyone's favorite Thunder Knight. It's been around since back in the day. We got 3 triple rare and 1 SP Thunder Knights Halberd Dragon. Basically just because it's high defense and high attack power, even though it only has 2 critical, the ability to move in the center and so many combos you can pull off with this guy, and with a good counter card, it's almost an impenetrable wall, trust me. It's very, very hard to take this guy down. At least you should focus on trying to harden him a lot more easier, because most of the other cards, Soul Guard does work if you can get Drum, but this guy is just a big wall. You can counterattack with him easy with a good, either, Wrath of the Dragon or Drago Energy, which people prefer because you get that counterattack in. 4. Actually, we're doing a buddy playset. This was the buddy I had selected, was Thunder Knights Strumbunker Dragon. Parallel foil. Oh, it's so nice. My friend said it was better than the buddy rare, and I think I might believe him on that one. I've never seen the SP though. Okay, so basically, call cost, pay 1 gauge, toss a Thunder Knight from your hand, not from top of the deck like the old versions, and put it into his soul for Soul Guard. He has move as well and penetrate. That usually it does work pretty well. I mean, the only thing I don't like is putting the Thunder Knight from your hand instead of just top decking and put it in. I mean, with Drago Archer it does work, but he has such a high cost. I mean, of course you don't have to put in the Soul Guard, but it's so badly needed in so many matchups. To be honest, I feel like you could use a different card for a buddy. I think I just do it just because I love Jump's arts. I think every one of his that I've seen is just freaking awesome, especially the SPs. But so far, this is my buddy. It works fairly well. You sometimes don't really want to run him as a buddy because he just is high cost. The extra gauge, he should, if you ask me, he should be running down about 3. This is a card that I should not have used, but it is a Thunder Knight, so here's for Thunder Knight's deck. Thunder Knight's Bastard Sword Dragon, probably one of the lesser grade 3s, well, size 3 monsters, sorry, stuck on Vanguard, guys. Reason why I don't like him too much, he does have move, he does not have Soul Guard, and even though he has move, he only has 6,000 defense. He does have double attack. I mean, it does hit some cards hard when your opponent either is trying to rush you, you can throw yourself in a weapon to get more attacks. But he doesn't really do that much damage. He only has 2 critical, 7,000 power is not bad. But there are a lot of cards that you want your size 3 to be able to crush, and this guy just sometimes does not get the job done. Actually, in the tournament myself, I had put this guy in and I noticed there was a better grade 3 that I could have run, and I put it in my side deck like an idiot. But he's okay. He has cool art and he's a Thunder Knight, but you can't combo anything with him because he's a size 3 and you can't put another card out in the field. There's no Thunder Knight size 0. Alrighty guys, next thing will be the weapons. I use 3 Sunfist Sunshine Impact. Now I run this weapon not for its skill, but rather the fact that it has 6,000 power and 2 crit. That's very good for the cost of only 1 gauge, and it's a weapon. So if you try to rush your opponent, this makes it so much more easier to get out big things out of the way, have the little guys going for rush, or just it allows you to break down your opponent in a lot more various ways than other weapons that have small amount of power or have a high cost in order to hit as high as this card can. No, of course the combo that everyone likes to do is a buddy with penetrate on it, which Drum does have. You do an infinite for the center. There's very little things that can basically stop that because pretty much no one can really stop link attacks nowadays. I mean, you can try to counter, throw in whatever energy or whatever you want to do, but no power can break infinite. Next, Steelfish Draco Knuckle, the pretty much staple since Dragon World was first introduced. This allows you to do an early game rush, gain a lot of gauge. The other thing is your opponent will majority of the time guard this because they do not want you to get that gauge. I mean, that was my downfall of running this at 2 instead of 3, because this deck, trust me, needed a lot of gauge, because in order to summon out the size 2s that people will try and pop and get rid of, instead of having to attack it and for you to be allowed to defend, it makes things easier to get gauge, so that way they can guard for this one. Next we have 3 Drago Energies. I feel as though I should have ran this at 4, just because countering is pretty much, I feel like when I play Buddyfight, I'm basically playing, what do I say, I'm fencing. Because if you're not beating down on your opponent, then you're trading blows, and it's very hard because you want to have the field presence, you want to have the field advantage, and Drago Energy, it basically helps out with that, because when your opponent's really desperate, they'll go on for that hit that's just enough to get over, and with Drago Energy you can guard, counterattack, get rid of their field, and you still got your monster intact. It's just one of the better cards, and I don't pretty much know that any deck that's from Dragon World that does not run Drago Energy other than, Dragon Knights. Next, I play 4 Dragobond. Now, you combine this with any basic card that has move, it's pretty much a lifesaver because it gets basically a free guarded attack, and if they do try to hit it, you still gain 2 life. So, basically, I can choose one of my cards on the field as long as I don't have a monster in the center. And it becomes, for one battle, it becomes invincible. Because when they try to destroy it, it'll remain on the field and I gain 2 life. Now that forces your opponent to basically make the decision of, do I really want my opponent to gain 2 life? Because I have to waste 2 attacks now just to get rid of that card. And he'll gain a plus off it. So, I've seen a lot of people they'll end their turn, so the way the effect's no longer void. And you're thinking, why in the world would they care? Because there had to be a monster in the center. Because Thunder Knights have the move ability, I can cast this prior to when I move the monster, so basically he'll gain the effect. He can keep the effect while moving to center, and basically makes you with one heck of a wall, it's called a double-edged wall for the opponent. Then I tacked in 2 Wrath of the Dragons. Of course, Drago Energy is a lot better than this card. The only reason I use it is because there's a lot of monsters people will use for walls, ones that are pesky. We all know Seeger is that one card that no one wants to end up against because it just has such high defense. It's hard to keep consistently hitting that thing, and then it evolves and gets even worse. So you want to be able to pick it off and remove as much of its soul as possible. That's the whole reason why I kept Wrath of the Dragon. And also too, Danger World beatdown decks run the Armor Knight Demon. With its huge 8,000 defense, you want to get rid of it as soon as possible. If even a small monster can get the job done, Wrath of the Dragon will bump it up high enough to where it can do that massive thing. 6,000 plus attack and defense. Either it's a great for a survival tool, or it's great to take down even the biggest of monsters. Okay, these are basically givens. The last cards of the deck: 4 Green Dragon Shield and 2 Blue Dragon Shield. Now I'm going to show you the sideboard. The sideboard, believe it or not, to me is so much better than the deck itself. This is the size 3 monster you want to run. Infernal Armor Dragon. Its call cost is pay 2 gauge and put the top 2 cards of your deck into this card's soul. It has 2 skills that are freaking amazing. If you, basically you're never going to run a deck that doesn't have basically all the same type of monsters. So this is an Armored Dragon based deck. Every one of the Thunder Knights are Armored Dragons, and if you top the 2 top cards that go into the soul, if one is an Armored Dragon, you can pop one of your opponent's monsters automatically. Second skill, basically remove both of the soul, so that way you can destroy another monster. Now, why is this so good? It's because you will rarely ever miss an Armored Dragon going into a soul. He doesn't have Soul Guard, so there's no real reason to keep it or hold on to it unless your opponent doesn't have any more monsters. So basically, you can pop 2 of your monsters, 2 of your opponent's monsters for free. He has 7,000 power, 7,000 defense, and 3 critical. He may only attack once, but his skill just, it works so well. In fact, I'm even thinking about putting him in the deck. Actually, I know I will put him in the deck full time, and maybe even tack in an extra copy in the sideboard just in case for bad situations. This, guys, is the size 3 monster anyone wants to run if you run Dragon World and you run Armored Dragons. Next, we have 2 Dragonic Thunder. Why to run this card? Very simple. Dungeon World can rush you with size 1 monsters that give drum and even the weapon just gnarly abilities you want to stop. This card right here at the beginning of battle phase can stop Tetsuya and the little size 1s that will just basically rush you and dominate you within the full turn. LTKs are very possible in Buddyfight. That's probably one of the only things I don't like about the game, but this will definitely cause a full halt to any of your opponent's strategies. So Dragonic Thunder, people. Pop 1 size 1 monster. Dragonic Grimoire. Basically, if you have less, I think it was less than 3 life or 5 life. Less than 5 life, you basically ditch your whole hand and draw 3 cards. Why is that good? It's because a lot of times you will run low on hand. Basically against games where, let me see, I can't really say where this came in perfect handy, any exact matchup. It might actually fit better just in the deck in general, because Thunder Knights, you will lose your hand. Even with Drago Archer, you want to constantly bring out cards. People will definitely pop your monsters a lot. You have to continuously keep on calling out more monsters. This card will be your saving grace to grab you some shields. More than half the time you will have no hand when you play this card anyway, and you will get full 3 cards without having to drop anything because you have no hand. Lastly, 2 White Dragon Shields. The only reason I run them is against Seeger because of how many times he can attack, especially the last one. Sometimes people will rush you, and if you got a bad hand, it'll just help you play out more. Of course, also too, the main reason any real reason you want to run 10 shields is just because you play with your open center a lot. Thunder Knights, you can do that. It's kind of the basic strategy, and then throw a move into the center. But this is just because that rush, some cards will just destroy your monsters before they have a chance to move. So in situations where things get tight, it's not too bad to play another additional few shields. the last parts of the sideboard. This one is once again another Seeger only kind of card, so that way I can attack, well, link attack twice, get rid of as much soul of that thing as possible. So pay 1 gauge, equip yourself, pay 2 gauge, equip yourself with a weapon with only 1 critical, but 5,000 power is very good, and it has double attack. That is the whole reason to run this card, is basically not to deal damage, but to get rid of your opponent's field, his monsters. 5,000 can get rid of a majority of size 1s and 2s, well, except for Danger World, of course. But it does help you with Seeger. Like I said, 2 link attacks per turn is better than 1. You must remove his soul, and you must rush that thing like crazy. Cannot let it get off the ground. Last card is, I think, to be honest, you should have it at least in your sideboard, 1 Gargantua Punisher. It is an auto win, people. In this deck, I know I need something better with Gauge. It was a very unplanned deck. But Gargantua Punisher can still win you games. No matter in the most intense against the most best players in the world. If you are in a dogfight, this card will save you. There were so many times where I should have thought to myself to put it in the main deck. I did not, because my opponents will run Armor Knight Demon, things like that, and have to wait a whole turn before they can get it out. If you can get to your final phase and pop this before your opponent has a chance to, then you can definitely you take the victory. I mean, your opponent will be kind of sour, because this is as bad as an OTK when you get an impact carded to death, especially by a card that everyone nowadays views as such a horrible card. So Gargantua Punisher, pay 4 gauge. You may only cast this if you and your opponent, well, if your opponent has less than 4 life and both of you do not have any monsters in the center. Deal 4 damage automatically to your opponent, and it cannot be stopped or negated. That still is a viable effect. And believe it or not, that new one that's coming out that does the 5 damage, do not do it. That is too much gauge. But this is perfectly fine. A lot of times you'll find yourself with your opponent having low life, but they will not go down. They have some ways to just throw defense. You know they have a good sized hand. This will be the card that you do. Just clear out the center field, go straight to your end phase, and just finish it. Trust me, Gargantua Punisher is still a good card to keep in, because hardly anyone still sees the card coming. Alrighty guys, that is my Thunder Knights profile. Sadly, like I said, it is not that great of a build. I will bring you an updated build of that very soon. Another couple of builds I will probably bring you is definitely Seeger, Blue Sky Knights, and a new Armor Knight build, the Ace build, which includes the new stuff from EBO2, so the same as Blue Sky Knights. I don't know how many boxes of that I'm going to have to go through to get a great deck, and I'm going to try and get a, now don't quote me on this guys because it's going to be tough, a full hollowed version of Blue Sky Knight deck. Trust me, I'm pretty sure that's already hard enough as it is, because I saw the SP drum and I knew I had to have it for a buddy, but that's just me. Alrighty guys, hope you enjoyed this deck profile. Trust me when I say you can definitely make improvements on this, I guess, half-assed build that I tried to put together. Have a wonderful day guys, and maybe soon I will bring you that 2.0 version of this deck, because oh my god does it need it. Have a good one guys.